demon rats. The spectacle I saw this week was one of the most pathetic, disheartening, saddest displays to which this nation has ever stood witness. It was, for all intents and purposes, a crucifixion of a man who has led the kind of exemplary life few of us can mirror. Now, you already know I was a felony court judge. You know, I've been both a prosecutor and then the DA. Sex crimes and crimes against women and children were my crusade. I assessed whether cases should go forward, whether the accused should be charged, convicted, and if so, as a judge, what the sentence should be. No one sympathizes more than I when it comes to women who are the silent victims of crime. I created the first domestic violence unit in the nation, which was the Department of Justice pilot program. Christine Blasey Ford is a lovely lady who is credible, and I believe something happened to her. But she's in over her head, and she is being used. No matter how many indelible hippocampus brain comparisons she made, she couldn't remember the fundamentals: whose house it was, where it was, when the party was, how she got to the house, or how she got home. She waits 36 years not telling her mother, a friend, a high school counselor, or anyone before now. If Ford said no one was there, that it was just she and Kavanaugh, or it was just he and she alone in a parking lot, then it's a true he said, she said. But once she chose to say there were 4 people there, it's a they said. Yet all 4 of they said nothing happened. They weren't there. They don't know what she's talking about. Now, what does that tell you about Ford's memory? If they weren't there, is it possible Kavanaugh wasn't there either? Now, crucial here is Ford's therapy visit in 2012. For the first time in 3 decades, she says she mentions Kavanaugh's name. If true, why was the name Kavanaugh not in the therapist's notes? And why would Ford's lawyers withhold those therapist notes, at least the part that referred to this alleged event? Why was Ford so evasive when questioned by the prosecutor on this issue? Why did her attorneys interfere with her answering and her testimony on this point? Were methods used to help her recall whatever traumatic event occurred? If a rape victim undergoes hypnosis sometime prior to testimony for the purpose of refreshing her memory of the incident, the court and jury is entitled to know. Because of the risk of confabulation of recent events, like television, newspapers, that impact one's memory, it is not a reliable means of refreshing one's recollection. Ford's attorneys even said she was afraid to fly and had to drive across the country. Yet we now know she was never told the committee was willing to come to her. We find out she's not afraid to fly. The woman's flown all over the country and the world, the South Pacific and Hawaii. But move all of that out of the way. What we're really dealing with here is hypocrisy, not who's right and wrong, who's guilty, who's innocent. This is about people desperate to win at all costs. Take a man and his family down, no problem. It's the battle of the hypocrites. Now, Jeff Flake is the perfect example. He says after the hearing, he's going to vote for Kavanaugh. But the man buckles after 2 women scream at him while preventing his elevator door from closing.
Look at me when I'm talking to you. You're telling me that my assault doesn't matter. No, what happened to me doesn't matter.
What happened to me doesn't matter? Of course it matters. But what does your abuse have to do with Brett Kavanaugh? Hundreds of thousands of women have been abused in this country. Take your anger out on the person who abused you. Go to court, convict him, send him to jail, spit on him. I don't care, but don't you dare blame Brett Kavanaugh for your victimization. Only wimp Jeff Flake is dumb enough, weak enough to not even get it. And Cory Booker, the wannabe Spartacus, he has the gall to stand up and criticize a man who is literally an altar boy on the politics of sexual assault. The ultimate hypocrite. Booker admits roping another young woman when he was 15. Why aren't we going after him? And that genius, Senator Mazie Hirono, who allegedly graduated from high school, either skipped the presumption of innocence class or she's willing to throw it all away for her political gain. And Mazie, your hypocrisy knows no bounds. When you have the nerve to say the Republicans have tossed out the rules, you're the one who declared Kavanaugh guilty before hearing any testimony, simply because it was a woman who was the accuser, and all you men shut up. And you're willing to openly say conservatives are simply not entitled to the presumption of innocence? Who are you? But my favorite, Dianne Feinstein. Madam, you don't deserve to be in the United States Senate, and no one can believe anything you have to say.
Each of these allegations should be investigated by the FBI.
2 days ago, you called for an FBI investigation. What a shock. Why didn't you ask for it in July when you got the Ford letter? You didn't ask for it because you're a hypocrite. No, like a Cheshire cat, you sat on it to inflict the most damage at the most damaging time possible. Christine Ford didn't want to be exposed. But no, you had other plans. Your plan was to leak it. You actually gave Ford the name of a Democrat attorney. Poor Dr. Ford. This woman doesn't know she was nothing more than a puppet on the string of Democratic politics. Dianne, where's your integrity? You and everyone in the Senate knows how this should have been handled confidentially. The FBI should have been involved before. It's how it's done. No one has any respect for you. But in the end, Lindsey Graham said it best.
There is no way to investigate something that happened 35 years ago when you can't tell them the month, the location. So this is not about getting to the truth.
And that's the opening statement. If you like my opening statements, you'll love my new book, New York Times #1 bestseller, Liars, Leakers, and Liberals, which I shamelessly try to advance on this show. I'm looking at Congressman Devin Nunes joining me now in a Justice exclusive to discuss the open as well as the president's rally tonight, the Kavanaugh nomination, and so much more. We have a lot to get to. As California Congressman, House Intel Committee Chairman Devin Nunes. Good evening, Congressman, Mr. Chairman. It's a pleasure to have you in New York.
Great to be here with you.
Thank you so much. All right, I want to go right to what the president was saying. He had a lot to say about the letter that was leaked on Dr. Ford, the one that Feinstein had. Let's take a look at this sound for a second.
Remember, Dianne Feinstein, did you leak? Remember her answer. Did you leak the document? What? No, I didn't leak. Well, wait 1 minute. Did we leak? No, we didn't leak.
Your take on that?
What you're seeing is the collapse of institutions in this country. It's really, really concerning. When you take a Supreme Court justice and you have senators talking about high school yearbooks, you're watching the collapse of the Senate, the collapse of the Republic. It's really, really dangerous place we're in.
What about Feinstein and her role? You and I both know, and I don't have time to go through it for all the viewers, all this stuff is supposed to be handled. She questioned him. The Senate knew everything, had the opportunity.
Well, there's two things there. First, she had a responsibility to share that with Republicans. And second, she should have made sure that the FBI knew about that as they were doing an additional background check.
Is there a kickback for her? Is there a political kickback for her before she releases it to Chairman Grassley, Senate Judiciary? She gets a lawyer for the woman.
Right. Well, look, Judge Kavanaugh actually said it best. And I think every American should go back and look at his testimony. Mm-hmm. Probably skip the questions that the senators were asking, but his testimony was amazing. Every American should watch it because he talked about the scheme that they all had working together. It was clear that you had outside groups funding an attack on him, and they knew, I guarantee you, many outside groups knew that they were going to drop this bomb because it was their last second chance to try to stop Kavanaugh from becoming a Supreme Court justice. And then, of course, that happens, and then you've got all kinds of other accusations, and God only knows what's going to come out in the next week here.
And, you know, the whole idea of, you know, the insistence now that the FBI investigate. I mean, if the first 6 FBI investigations didn't indicate anything, how is this one going to be a better one?
Well, I don't even know where the FBI would start, right? Because she gave her testimony, so I doubt there's any more than that. All the other people have sworn which would be a crime if they lied.
If they go back on what they said.
So you have no witnesses. You don't know the location. How do you even start to investigate this?
And, you know, she hasn't even asked the Maryland police, for which apparently there is no statute of limitations, to investigate it. What do you think of that?
Well, because how would the police investigate it? No one can investigate this.
But she doesn't want it investigated.
Well, supposedly she didn't want her name out there in the public.
Okay,
but there's a whole group of people that are coordinating this effort, both inside in the Senate with the Democrats and on the outside with all the left-wing groups, with the media tailing right behind.
What about Flake? What's going to happen with, Heidi Heitkamp, Murkowski, Collins? What are they going to do?
I believe that the senators that are in the red states, I think if they don't vote to confirm Kavanaugh, I think they're going to be in big trouble in this election. Because one thing that's happened, Republicans are happy with the economy. I mean, every American should be happy with the economy, right? But what you're seeing is that finally Republicans are waking up, that this resistance movement, everybody thought this was a joke, like some kind of term off of Star Wars. But they're starting to see now, because of the situation that Judge Kavanaugh is in, what many of us have been dealing with for the last 2 years.
Okay. All right. And Congressman Nunes, you're going to stay right here. There's more to get to. I want to know where we are in the FISA warrant investigation. When are we going to see accountability from people in law enforcement and the deep state? We're going to get answers from House Intel Chairman when justice rolls on in a moment. Plus, more on the Kavanaugh controversy. Dan Bongino, Chris Hahn watch the hearings just like the rest of us. They're ready to have at it on the panel. And conservative commentator Michelle Malkin joins me live to discuss Kavanaugh, the accuser, and more. We're back in a moment.